Toni Barnhart, welcome back to Tuscaloosa. I hope you're doing well, sir.
I'm well, Ryan. Thanks.
Hey, we're 194 days away. I mean, only in Tuscaloosa.
But who's counting?
Well, we are. We are because it's sponsored, Tony. See, that's the thing. Tony?
Excellent.
Yeah, so
Excellent.
so we're counting down the days until Alabama-Louisville. We're counting down 16 days away from spring practice and 60 days away from Alabama A-Day. So, only in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, are we counting down 230 days away. But we've been counting down. We feel like we've made something under 200.
That's great.
So,
it's hard to believe.
Hey, we'll be turning right around and do it again. Let me ask you, you spent some time with this article here talking about Coach Saban and maybe an energy that still resides in Coach Saban.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I was there, he's the way he always is. He's in a hurry. He's trying to get a lot of stuff done in a relatively little amount of time. But the thing that struck me was, the national championship was on January 8th, and the national signing day was in February. He was at least a month away from spring practice, or a little bit less, and he's going 100 miles an hour. So the point is, I'm trying to make is this guy has not lost anything off of his fastball, and he's anxious to see. He's won a 6th national championship, and now he wants to see if he can do it again.
Tony, when you look at Nick Saban, I've tried to explain this he's a competitor in everything he does. Recruiting, as he told us on National Signing Day, he said the most competitive thing we do is winning on the field. Number 2 is recruiting. I just wonder what Kirby Smart and the success they had there in Georgia maybe kind of rekindled a little Nick Saban rejuvenation on the recruiting front.
Well, knowing him for all these many years, he didn't tell me that, but I would be stunned if he reacted any other way. I mean, he everything from pick up basketball, you name it, the guy likes to compete. He likes to win. He doesn't like to lose. And so I would imagine, after watching what Georgia did, watching, what a lot of people did, Urban Meyer, Penn State, those guys, that has juiced him up a little bit. And again, I thought the whole idea of the Alabama having the number 6 recruiting class, I thought was way overblown. The fact of the matter is, yeah, there were a couple of guys they lost there at the end. They thought they were going to get, but the fact of the matter is, he signed a smaller class. Why? Because he's retained a lot of people, and he's got a lot of really good players. So to me, that was not a sign of anything. I thought people overstated that.
Well, maybe it's because we look at Coach Saban as you pointed out in your article, will be turning 67 October the 31st, because all coaches that travel up and are able to do it at the length of time that he's been able to do it, they get that challenge of age, and I'm sure that's being used against him right now on the recruiting trail.
Oh, you can count on it. I talked to somebody else earlier today. Every coach who's been successful for a long time, when he gets into the last 5-10 years of his career, then people start using the fact that, hey, recruits, this guy's had a great run, but he's not going to be there the whole time you're at this school. And the coach has got to fight, and the coach in question has to fight that, has to recruit back, has to overcome it. And the question becomes, how long can you overcome it until it starts to become a reality? But every great coach has gone through it. Bear Bryant went through it. Bobby Bowden went through it. Tom Osborne went through it. Every great coach, Hall of Fame coach, has gone through it at some point. And Nick Saban will go through it at some point. All I said with my column, it just ain't today. Okay, I promise you.
How much you think is left in the tank? We talk about years out.
I think he can go as long as he wants to. Keeps himself in tremendous physical shape. He knows that's important, and I think it really comes down to how if you're in great physical shape, then how much can you take of the daily grind of being a head football coach at this level, and the stuff you got to put up with non-football related, and the media obligations and the recruiting, on and on and on. Some guys who are in pretty good physical shape get tired of the other stuff. They enjoy the games. They enjoy getting ready for the games, but the ancillary stuff around being a coach is what they get tired of. So the question is, to me, is how much longer does Nick Saban want to work at this pace? My guess is that as long as he's winning he's going to keep doing it.
Tony, you've been covering college football, and I don't know the number of years, but you've watched legacies and dynasties, and I just want to ask you, from your perspective, are we watching the greatest coach to ever walk the sidelines here in Tuscaloosa?
I wrote that the night of the championship game, and I've been one of the ones I said, let's hold off, because Coach Bryant was, he was just extraordinary. He was bigger than life, and his impact on the University of Alabama really goes beyond wins and losses. It's much, much bigger than that. But in terms of football on the field, and the fact that Alabama's won 5 national championships in 9 years, came within 1 second of winning another one, he easily could have won 2 more. You're not supposed to be able to do that in this day and time, with scholarship restrictions, and at a time when everybody's got money to go recruiting. But he's done it. He's built a program. He's infused it, and the people believe in it. And so, I do think at this point, I can say that Nick Saban is the greatest college football coach of all time.
We're talking with Toni Barnhart right now, who has written an article on Nick Saban, tmgcollegesports.com, tmgcollegesports.com. You can connect with Mr. College Football at MRCFB, Mr. College Football, Toni Barnhart. Tony, let me walk you back to that championship evening. How surprised were you that Nick Saban made a change at the quarterback position?
I can now tell you, Ryan, I was not surprised, because 2 hours before the game, somebody close to the program, I raised the question. I said, what's going to happen if Jalen Hurts can't move the ball? He said, if we get behind by double digits, you're going to see the kid. And so when he tried it out there for the second half, I was not surprised. Now, if I had not known that, I'd have been surprised, because, you're talking about a guy in Jalen Hurts who had won 25, 26 games as a starter, had gotten you to 2 national championship games, was the SEC Offensive Player of the Year, and he got you within 1 second of winning a national championship last year, and you're going to bench that guy in favor of an 18-year-old freshman? And then, of course, they put Tua in the game, and we saw why. And so I wasn't surprised, but man, oh man, he played lights out.
So going back to this game for just a couple of minutes, what do you see moving forward with the conversation around quarterbacks here in Tuscaloosa?
Well, I asked Coach Saban, I said, I'm not speculating, Coach. What's fair to say? And he said, what's fair to say is what I told the players. I told the players, we're going to have a competition, and you're going to have the opportunity to show what you can do. And we're going to let the guy who gives us the best chance to win do it. But he also added one last sentence to that thing, and he said, and that might mean more than one guy. And so to me, I don't think you can take the possibility of both of those guys playing. Now, nobody's told me this, but I can tell you what I've learned over the last 5 or 6 years. A starting quarterback will not be named at Alabama after spring practice. I can pretty much promise you that, because you never do that now, because chances are if you do that, the other guy's going to leave.
And chances are we'll probably get that white piece of paper that's so generic on that Monday prior to the Louisville game, and that it says Jalen Hurts or Tua Tagovailoa, right? I mean, that's
why do it? I mean, to me, I think you can play both of those guys. I think Mike Locksley and Dan Enos can come up with a plan to take advantage of what these guys can do. Jalen Hurts is a phenomenal athlete, okay? And he throws the ball a lot better than people think, but Tua's got something special. So, to me, man, let Mike Locksley and Dan Enos figure this thing out, come up with something interesting.
And Tony, you look back at Jalen Hurts towards the back end of the season. What I was looking at, and maybe you disagree, but I was looking at a quarterback that had lost some of his confidence. If he gets that back, this will be a fun conversation that we'll have in the spring.
Right, and listen, the thing about Jalen is I haven't spent a ton of time with him, but just in the few conversations that I've been a part of, it's almost always in a group. But he's so thoughtful. He just seems to be a great young man, and I think he son of a coach. I just think he would not leave. I don't think he would leave under the current circumstances. I think he likes being in Alabama, but we'll see. That's the great thing about this stuff, Ryan, is that it's all got to play. We can speculate all we want, but it's going to play out, and it's going to be an interesting summer.
We're talking to Mr. College Football, Toni Barnhart. Tony, let me go back to Georgia here for just a couple of minutes. What do Georgia fans want in their football program?
What do Georgia fans want? Well, Georgia fans want, and I told when Mark Richt got the job, Coach Richt sort of asked me the same question and said, look, Georgia fans want to be in the conversation for the SEC championship every year. They want to go down to Jacksonville to play Florida with the championship still on the line. And they believe, and rightfully so, that the University of Georgia ought to be really, really good in football, because if you go back and look at the number of players that come out of the state of Georgia every year, and that Georgia should get their fair share, they should be in the mix. And so last year was even though they didn't win the national championship, it was a magical season. I mean, to go to Notre Dame and win, to dominate Florida and Jacksonville, something that happened a long time, to beat Oklahoma in the Rose Bowl and come within one play of winning the national championship. That was a special season. Now the challenge for Kirby Smart is to keep it going. I think Georgia's going to take a little bit of a step back next year, but they still will probably be picked to win the East.
Tony, you cover both of these programs as close as a lot of people. You're close to that program. You're certainly close to the one in Tuscaloosa. Do you see a lot of similarities, or has Kirby Smart been able to put his own mark on that program?
Well, I think philosophically, we're talking about the idea is you recruit great players, you instill them with a system and with discipline, and you got to be relentless in your approach to the job. And I think Kirby, you don't work for Nick Saban 11 years and not come away impacted by that. And I think Kirby. It's funny. Last summer, I was at a function and somebody came to me and he looked me square in the eye and he said, "Tony, is Kirby going to make it?" I said, yeah, I think Kirby's going to be just fine. First-year coaches don't know what they don't know, and Kirby learned a lot in his first year. I think Kirby Smart's going to be very successful at Georgia.
Tony, thank you again for your time. Certainly, let me give you a chance to promote the website, tmgcollegesports.com, and how people can read more articles about the game that we love so much.
Well, thanks. I started it with three of my friends who are all longtime veterans of the newspaper business in Los Angeles, Chicago, and Boston. And I'm the guy from the South, and we've got the country pretty well covered. We charge a small subscription fee. You can get it for $1.99 a month just to cover our expenses and stuff like that. We don't plan to getting rich, but we love college football and we like what we do, and we have a lot of fun doing it. So if you want to see what's going on not only in the South but around the country, go to tmgcollegesports.com.